Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a unique path. We're not synthesizing a stack of competing academic papers.
Right.
Instead, we're doing a deep dive into a single, really focused document. It's a devotional message centered on encouragement and endurance.
That's right. And this message, it was delivered by Pastor Hu Zikang of Hualien Beipu Presbyterian Church. It also draws pretty substantially from Warren Wiersbe's book, The Renewal Moment.
Okay.
And the date is specific. It's September 22, 2025. The context here, well, it's vital.
Absolutely. This was tailored, it seems, specifically for Taiwanese office workers, addressing that pervasive challenge, right? Finding motivation for the start of the work week.
Yeah, the Monday blues, we all know it.
Exactly. It tackles the professional grind, but through an ancient lens.
So our mission today is really to unpack this central theme of upholding hope. It comes from Hebrews chapter 10. And we want to see how this biblical call for, unwavering faith translates into modern dilemmas, whether that's workplace stagnation or even using new tech like AI non-commercially.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The whole devotional seems to pivot on this one instruction from Hebrews 10.23. Let us uphold the hope we profess without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. That word wavering, it sounds incredibly loaded.
Oh, it is. Especially when you think about who first read Hebrews. These were first-century believers under, extreme pressure.
Right.
They were facing intense social, economic pressure, maybe even persecution, to just abandon their commitment to Jesus Christ.
So wavering wasn't just like having a few doubts. It meant actively giving up their whole new identity, going back.
Precisely. Reverting meant getting back their social standing, maybe ending the persecution, returning to the familiar comfort of their old community and practices.
Yep.
But the author isn't just saying don't lose your faith, which we often think of as personal. The author tells them to maintain their professed hope.
Why that distinction? Professed hope versus, say, internal salvation. Why is that important?
Well, because salvation itself, from the author's perspective, is secure in Christ. That's not the issue.
Yeah.
The concern is about maintaining the public integrity, the endurance of their commitment. To profess hope is it's a public testimony. It's about a certainty about the future. If they start wavering publicly, it undermines the whole community, their focus on the future.
And the content of that hope, the source material says it's explicitly future-focused. The glorious hope of believers looking toward Christ's return.
Yes, exactly. And seeking that which is to come, referencing Hebrews 13.15, it's very much looking forward.
So the connection here between focus and stability seems critical.
Absolutely. The devotional argues instability is really a symptom of misplaced focus. If your hope is anchored squarely on Christ's return and God's faithfulness, then you can't waver, by definition.
So the instruction to uphold hope without wavering is basically saying, look forward with certainty, don't get dragged back by the past.
Exactly. Rejecting the past as the anchor.
Okay, if that's the instruction, stay anchored to the future promise, then the biggest threat must be that human tendency, right, to look backward when things get tough or scary.
That's precisely what the devotional highlights. It uses two big historical examples of retreat. First, the Exodus.
Right.
Remember, Moses goes up Mount Sinai, and the people down below, they immediately lose focus, panic, and demand to go back to Egypt.
Which is just staggering. Back to slavery after seeing all those miracles.
It tells you a lot about, the human desire for instant gratification, or maybe just certainty, even if it's bad certainty, and how quickly promises are forgotten.
And the second example?
The 12 spies. 10 come back with that terrifying evil report about the promised land. Giants, fortified cities, huge obstacles.
The fear must have been overwhelming.
It was. Mass hysteria. And again, what's the immediate reaction? Let's pick a new leader and march right back to Egypt, back to slavery again.
It's a failure to trust the promise, isn't it? Not just fearing the giants, but doubting God could actually deliver.
A profound failure of faith, yes. They projected their fear onto God's power.
And this whole theme, refusing to retreat, refusing to look back, it carries right into Jesus' own words about discipleship. The message brings in Luke chapter 9.
Yes, Jesus was explicit. He warned people rushing to follow him, you've got to count the cost. He made it clear following him meant radical commitment. Foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Comfort wasn't the promise.
That sets a really high bar. But the specific warning about looking back, that's the kicker, isn't it?
It really is.
He said anyone who puts their hand to the plow and then looks back, they're not fit for the kingdom of God.
Such a potent metaphor, plowing. You have to keep your eyes forward. Look back. And your furrow's crooked, the work's wasted.
Right. Right.
Spiritually, looking back means you're doubting the decision you already made. You regret the choice to follow the mission. And that instability, well, it makes you unfit for the future God is building.
Okay, so we've got this ancient mandate. Steadfast commitment, look forward, don't retreat. Now, let's bridge this to the modern grind. How does that spiritual instability, that looking backward or wavering, show up in, say, an office tower on Monday morning?
Right. This is where the devotional really tries to bring it home for the Taiwanese worker, and I think for all of us. It asks you to do this radical contrast in your head.
Okay.
Are you facing the week with the Monday blues, that listlessness, feeling like you have to go, just obligation, where the main goal is simply feeding the family?
Which means your vision doesn't really extend beyond the next paycheck.
Exactly. That's a form of wavering, in a way. The alternative, approaching the week with renewed vigor, with passion, ready to actually contribute your expertise, complete tasks with excellence. The difference isn't necessarily the job itself. It's the internal engine, what's driving the work.
That's a huge mental shift. Most people see their job as a means to an end. But what if your job, maybe it's logistics, maybe accounting, what if it seems to have no development potential, like the message says? How do you sustain passion then?
And that's the core leap the devotional asks for. It introduces this idea of a mission or a calling that elevates even routine work. The vision has to transcend just, utility.
So it's not about finding some high-mission job necessarily.
Not necessarily. It's about performing the work you have as an act of professional contribution, of service. Regardless of the sector, your job becomes the platform for your purpose, not the purpose itself.
So professional excellence becomes a kind of spiritual discipline, sustained by that future hope, that promise. It's interesting, the pastor included 3 reflective questions too, not just advice.
Yeah, they're really powerful self-assessment tools. The first one is foundational. How do you define your hope? Is it based on, shifting sands, your portfolio, your health, your career path?
Or is it based on the certainty of the promise?
Exactly. Which leads right to the second question. How would being more certain of God's faithfulness impact your spiritual life? That shifts the focus off your performance onto His reliability.
Right. If you really trusted the promise, what would change? Your effort, your anxiety levels.
And the third question, it's that classic challenge designed to create urgency now.
The what if Jesus returns soon question.
Basically, yeah. If you were absolutely certain Jesus would return in 2 weeks, what would you do during that time?
And the follow-up.
Shouldn't you be doing those things anyway?
Yeah.
It just collapses that gap between what we say we believe and how we actually live day to day. It demands immediate, intentional living.
That sense of urgency, that's a perfect bridge to our final section, because this is where we see this commitment, this refusal to waver, playing out in a really tangible, modern way. Let's talk about the AI media mission of Hualien Beipu Church.
Yes, this is a fascinating case study. It's all about non-commercial, mission-driven action. The church launched this Gospel Toolkit YouTube channel. But look, this wasn't some sudden impulse. It actually grew out of an existing PC audio program. Pastor Hugh started way back in July 2022.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that audio program already had over 600,000 downloads across different show types.
So they had proof of concept in audio, but then the shift to video, that's a massive hurdle, right? Especially for a local church team. Resources, tech skills.
Huge hurdle. Transitioning to YouTube meant tackling immense complexity. They needed visual assets, music, subtitles, and crucially, multiple languages: Taiwanese, Mandarin, and English.
Wow.
That demands constant learning. Video production, data analysis, the works.
And the devotional specifically mentioned they're using AI. How does that fit in? How's it helping?
They're using it quite strategically, it seems. Not just vaguely using AI, they're leveraging it to optimize the volunteer effort. Think automated translation, and especially syncing voiceovers and generating subtitles across those 3 languages.
So it drastically cuts down the manual work for localization.
Yeah. Exactly, which is essential if you want to reach diverse audiences without burning out your volunteers. It frees them up for other tasks.
That's smart stewardship. But let's get to the core conflict, the part that really speaks to hope. The message is blunt. Current viewership, click-through rates, very few people.
Yeah.
So if you apply standard business logic, commercial ROI thinking to this massive effort, AI, multiple languages, production, what's the logical conclusion?
Abandon ship. Immediately. In any commercial framework, high effort plus low measurable return equals failure. Market logic says cut your losses, move on.
But they're not moving on, they persist. And this is where that idea of upholding hope really hits the ground, isn't it? If the numbers don't dictate the effort, what does?
Their mission. The workers understand their commitment is sustained by something non-numeric. The devotional is crystal clear. Whether 3 people watch, or 30 or 300, the effort stays the same. The goal is proclamation itself, regardless of the audience size. They see it as lighting a little candle, doing it for God's sakes. The value is intrinsic to the act, not measured by the extrinsic result.
And that commitment is underlined by their financial structure too, right? No ads, no fees.
Completely. No advertisements, no membership fees, no external donations for this project. It keeps the mission pure.
How do they manage it then?
By relying on free AI tools where possible, the pastor's own recordings, testimonies from members, they've actively structured it to remove commercial pressures.
So they've sacrificed the commercial logic that would force them to waver because the numbers are low?
Precisely. It allows them to stay steadfastly focused on the goal, the proclamation itself.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, whether it's tackling the Monday blues or pushing a high-effort project with low returns, the bottom line seems to be hope. That unwavering commitment to a future certainty, that's the engine.
That's the engine. It sustains the effort, the professional contribution overrides the challenges. So the encouragement really as you start your week is to try and move past just obligation. Approach your work with passion, service, support for each other, and that underlying certainty of hope. It's about applying this understanding, right?
Fantastic. And that leads us perfectly to our final provocative thought for you, the listener. It builds right on that church's media example, sacrificing standard logic for the mission. They commit huge resources, even if only 3 people watch.
Yeah.
So we want you to consider, where in your own professional or personal life are you currently committing significant resources, time, effort to a goal that has little measurable or monetary return simply because you believe deeply in its non-commercial value? And maybe ask yourself, is that commitment wavering, or are you managing to uphold that hope steadfastly? Something powerful to reflect on as you start your own week.